is Lawrence Clies, I think, with regards to utility bill. Brandi Tolley. You'd state your name and address for the council, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, I'm going to use the notes on my phone. I apologize. I'm a busy mom, and so I don't always get the opportunity to sit down in front of a laptop. My name is Brandi Tolley. I live at 2331 South 6th Street here in Springfield. I bought that property 20 years ago as a single parent. I was returning home from overseas. I served my country for 8 years. I am a disabled veteran. I'm a foster parent. I work from home. I have a small business. I'm a taxpayer, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come speak with you all tonight. I want to talk with you about the effects of the high-speed rail on my family and other families that I've been in contact with. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of those because it's been brought to my attention through my own personal experiences as well as other people who I've been in contact with and I've met in the process who are, their homes and their families are being negatively impacted by this project. I don't feel like our voices are being heard, and I don't feel like the communication is being passed along, and that you guys as our voted officials are hearing the truth behind how this is hurting our families. At the beginning of this project, my family was offered $1,600 for a nice chunk of my backyard. I counteroffered with the current, at that point, the current value of my home, the fair market value, because I felt like asking me to give up a part of my backyard when I have a small child at home, when I have other children, that was not fair. I value my home. I've been there for 20 years. It was in counter-offered to me, and this is all being done through Hanson. Hanson is, I guess, overseeing the all of the contracts with that. We were then offered our neighbor's front yard in exchange for our backyard. Now, I don't know if you've ever driven up and down 6th Street. It's 4 lanes of very high-speed traffic, literally around the clock. I am not putting my toddler in a front yard to play so you can run train tracks through my backyard. It's not going to happen. We declined that offer. Our immediate neighbors, whose house we literally have an 8-foot fence between the 2 properties, that 8-foot fence touched their property. So there were 8 feet between my house and theirs. They were bought out and they received $100,000 over the value of their home because they were being displaced and they could not afford a down payment on a comparable home to move them into. $100,000. That to me is not fair to then offer me $1,600 for my backyard. Their house was 8 feet from my home. During all of the negotiations, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm not asking for pity. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm just letting you know how our family lives. We are not fancy people. We live day to day. My husband had to take unpaid leave to care for our foster child that we received right before our diagnosis. He was on unpaid leave to take care of me because I had a double mastectomy 3 times. I didn't know that that was possible, but due to complications, I have had 3 double mastectomies in 18 months. I'm now cancer-free, but my husband had to take time away from his work unpaid to take care of our family. During all of this time, the negotiations came and went with Hanson. There was a delay in me getting back to the people at Hanson because I was a little occupied with trying to survive. During the final phone conversation I had with Tom at Hanson, he told me he'd been trying to contact me and that I had not returned his calls. I explained that I had been going through cancer treatments, and he says, oh, I already know. Your next door neighbor, whose property they paid $100,000 more for, filled him in. He said, and I quote, I want to make sure I get it right. You did a great thing taking in that little brown baby, and I'm sorry to hear about your breasts, end quote. I told him, you leave my boobs and my brown baby out of this equation. This is about my home and everything I have worked hard for. He told me that I was being difficult, and because I would not agree to the $1,600, that the city of Springfield would simply rescind their contract and they would build around my home, and that is exactly what they have done. The second week of November 2019, I was woken up to what sounded like a large explosion. I am a disabled vet. I have PTSD. I had made multiple phone calls to ask, when is the demolition of these homes around me going to start? I do not want to be present These homes have been open. There's mold growing in the homes. There's transient vagrants in and out of these homes. It is not safe. I have a compromised immune system. I don't want to be present. Nobody could give me the decency to give me even a guesstimated date of when this would happen. Our entire home was shaking violently. For someone with PTSD, let me tell you, it's a very scary thing. That was in November of 2019. To date, that shaking has not stopped. Minimum of 5 days a week, our entire home shakes. It shakes so badly that we have cracks and buckles in nearly every single one of our plaster walls and our ceilings. We have buckling in our walls. We have buckling in our ceilings. We have our foundation in our basement has now cracked. It was not cracked before. Our basement houses my home business. It has been our only income for 2 years. While going through cancer, while trying to take care of my family, that has been our only business. We have had raw sewage back up twice into my business because of all the added weight, putting pressure on the sewer lines. My home is at the very end of the row. Raw sewage has backed up twice, putting me completely out of income and out of business until all of that can be repaired. I'm out thousands of dollars out of pocket because my homeowner's insurance would only cover $10,000 in repairs to fix the raw sewage and all the damage that has been done. Your project, while I am so incredibly grateful that you guys have a project that you stand behind and you're excited about, it is bankrupting my family. And I'm sure if it's doing that to my family, it is also doing it to other people's families. My home repairs are excessive and they're mounting every single day. There are more cracks. We have broken windows. We have cracked windows. We have windows that won't shut because the foundation has shifted. All of these concerns are falling on deaf ears. Now, I will give it to Kristen. She has been very receptive to every single one of every issue that I've had. She has gotten back to me. She has returned a phone call, and we appreciate that. But we are not the only family this is affecting. We have voted you guys into office because we believe you and we trust in you. Communication is vital. You guys, this project is literally, it's going to bankrupt my family, and I'm a fighter. I will fight with everything that I have. The value of my home has decreased significantly. Nobody wants to buy a 2,500 square foot home that has on a daily basis a minimum of 10 heavy machinery pieces all around it. They're building around me. There's rainwater that backs up 7 to 8 inches every single time it rains because of the 7-foot drop and the runoff. It's flooding streets in our neighborhood. There's raw sewage backing up. Nobody is going to buy my home for anything near what it's worth. Instead of you giving me that $1,600, I am not asking you to fix my home. Because when those other 3 train rails are coming through there, guess what? All those vibrations are going to continue like they're continuing now. I want the city of Springfield, and I am so glad that you guys from Ask Me spoke up. Every week I have been watching your meetings online, every single week, and I cannot believe the millions of dollars that are approved upon in contracts that are not even negotiated. They're not questioned, and you guys can't find $109,000 to buy my home that you have destroyed. Shame on you. I am so sorry, but this is affecting my family and my children. My toddler has been nearly run over twice in the last 6 weeks, riding her tricycle directly behind my home because of the carelessness of the contractors that are working around our home. That's how close this is. My home shakes from 7 a.m. till 4:30 p.m., 5-6 days a week, every single day. I want it on the record. I do not want you to fix my home. I want to be bought out like all the other people around me. That is what's fair, and that is what's going to give my family the peace and the safety that they deserve. I want you to ask, each and every one of you, ask yourselves, if this were your family and your children were expected to play in a backyard with cranes, swinging equipment, and bulldozers pushing within 3 feet of your property line and your fence, what would you want the city of Springfield to do for your family, for your children? Think about derailments. There have been 2 major train derailments in the last 4 weeks, one in Arizona, one in St. Louis. If a train were to derail anywhere near our house, it would take out my whole family. I do not wish that upon anybody's family, not at all. You guys are not communicating with each other. The powers that be, I've been in contact with Dick Durbin's office. Bill Houlihan told me just last week that he had forwarded all of the financial paperwork to the mayor's office and that he had personally found funding in the form of a grant that would reimburse the city of Springfield for the $109,000 that we are asking for our house. The mayor came over yesterday with Nate Bottom, knows nothing about said paperwork. How is it that Dick Durbin's office has found it and has sent it on, but yet nobody knows anything about it? We are living in limbo, and every single day our house is crumbling in front of our eyes, and it is not fair. It is not fair. I'm simply asking you to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Come live a day in our life. I invite you to our home. I invite you to see what the damage of this project has done to my home and for my family, because it is not pretty. It is not pretty. Please, please work together, communicate, and help my family. Help the other families that are being negatively affected by this project. You owe it to us. We have voted you all into this positions you are in. We appreciate the fact that you listen to us, but more needs done. And I am asking you now to please help my family out of this situation.
Alderman Redpath?
Mayor, did you guys receive documents from Senator Durbin's office?
Yeah, I'll let Nate Bottom answer that question. We did meet with Ms. Tolley yesterday and did a walkthrough on the property. And we told her we'd get back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And determine how we can possibly mitigate the situation. And so with regards to what the Senator Durbin's office, I'll let Nate speak to that because I had not received any paperwork, but Nate can speak to his conversation directly.
We do hear from him because obviously if that paperwork is in the process, that may be a resolution to your problem.
Correct. And that's my thing is we're left hanging and everybody's running around in circles, pointing fingers at everyone else.
Actually, what we had done is since prior to making the visit, we did have a conversation with Senator Durbin's office. Nate Bottom was there as well as Hanson, just to get everybody on the same page. And so from that, we thought there could be a hardship, could be paid for the rail. That's not the case. We were told, that can't be done. And so, that's what we're trying to figure out. Is there a way to, instead of doing the improvements, as Ms. Tolley had said, is there a way to layer together an approach? Like she said, she's a veteran. Are there any dollars available for veterans, especially disabled veterans? Or,
what about
that's what we're trying to
infrastructure
work through.
funds? Does that count?
Oh, history, we're right next to each other, both in the same boat on the sheet. She's 20 feet closer to me, but
Nate, can we hear from you, please, about what you know about this, please?
Alderwoman DeSenza will make comment first, and then Nate will come up.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been to Brandi's house. I've watched the equipment working while her kids were there and her husband. I've brought this up at City Council 3 times now. I've talked to Senator Durbin's office. I've talked to the mayor's office. It's not, and I've said this every time, it's not just you. Every house along that corridor should have been bought out because the insanity of living where they're living, streets that used to go through are now dead-end streets. Where there's one guy who lives on 4th Street, they knocked down every single house around him, and it's just him on a dead-end street. I mean, this was not a well thought out or executed plan, and the people that are living in these areas are suffering. As I'm going through next week's first reading agenda, the businesses are getting bought out for millions of dollars, and residents are getting
I had that conversation with Director Bottom as well.
Are getting not enough.
Right.
And she should not have to live like this. Neil, who I went to high school with, he should not have to live like this. It's insanity. If you see what's going on over there, it's not okay.
And I will say that the contractors from UCM have been amazing. Every day they ask how we are. When we were having the flooding, the site manager said to me, you know what, I've got a guy, he's going to dig a trench. That'll help for a while with the flooding. But he said once that trench gets filled in, it's going to continue to flood. When you have 8 inches of water in your backyard, just hanging out.
yeah, my name's Neil Davis. I live 2408 South 5th Street, really across the street or the alley from her. I bought my house 2001, first time homeowners, lifetime resident here.
And I bought the house because I was at the house next to the tracks. There was a house next to me. The house next to me at the time was literally from here to that wall away from me, and that was his house wall. And then I was told the buyout program was coming through and that they were tearing that house. Now next to me, I have 3 large shipping crates that are their operations for them. I have constantly a truck that is a large arc welder that is literally parked 2 feet from my fence. They've hit the fence twice. They've been very understanding. They've actually moved the truck. This thing's full of gas and chemicals, and it's an arc welder, and it's going to be there for the long term. And they did move it 6 feet away. I have AT&T working on fiber optic lines. Every morning I wake up, there's literally a guy from here to that bench, 15 guys walking around. They've cracked the floors and foundations, my walls. I've had other issues with doors not tightening, cracked windows, as she has mentioned. I think there's more damage from pre-construction than I've gone to Hanson. I've gotten the blueprints. I've gotten schematics. They can't tell me anything about the drainage. I talked to project engineer, I think Scott there. He doesn't know the layout. No one knows the landscaping structure and how it's going to be. Hanson gave me the visuals of everything. It's very rudimental drawings. I have no visualization how it's in. I bought the house. It's depreciated in the last month, $5,000, just like that in 1 month. Equity is just slipping down there. I talked to a banker that's a friend of mine. She said situations of hospitals and things that get out with buyouts and programs and parking lots, that there would be a compensation of depreciation of loss from my house, because there's no way I'll be able to sell for what it's going to be worth with my equity. No one's talked to me about anything. Hanson has been very cold shoulder to me. And so here I am every morning, as she mentioned. She's actually closer than I am, but I can throw a rock and hit that 7-foot hill that they've built. And I look across the street, and that's right across from me. My front yard is totally buried. They had to put new fire hydrants in left and right. Everything I own on the hill is trash. They haven't done anything on that. I can't use anything out my yard. It's right across the street. Now I have dozers left and right, and it just won't stop. And I'm now until November 2021. So, what do? I bought this. I put all my money in this. I put all the work in this, all the hard work, and just like that, it's just gone.
What's your address again?
What's
Mr.
that?
Davis? What's your address again?
2408 South 5th. And literally, like I said, constantly when I back up and go out, I had submitted for a long time. When I moved in 2001, that alley was trashed. I mean, it was the worst alley. And you guys were talking about this. And I had through a guy named Tyrone, kept talking, hey, can you get my alley done? Can you get my alley done? Can you get my alley done? And like 7 years into it, he finally got it done for me. And that is all taken away now, because the tractors and trailers, they go from one, the dozers. I got videos. I've been documenting this whole thing. The conditions, the roads, the alleys, they're all being destroyed. Everything I've ever partitioned to try to get that alley better for us. She mentioned, Kristen, about getting our alley. That's my entrance way. I have to fight bulldozers to go in to get my car parked. The Hanson trucks are coming and going. Everybody on that project parks next to my house. So when I wake up every morning, there's 15 cars right next to my house. Like, my car's there, those trucks are there. And it's just a continual thing I have to live through for the next year and a half. And I was only this far from that neighbor's house. He got paid a large amount of money. They relocated him. Everything went fine. They left his garage there, and they're using that as a storage situation. But it's no future for me right now. I have no way of selling it. I can't lose money on it. I can't. They almost hit my car in it. I shouldn't be there. And again, my house is cracked foundations, cracked subfloors, cracked walls, doors are pinching, cracked windows. I have dogs that I get out. I had to re-fence in the area. I had to put a fence inside my fence because they were laying pipes and stuff that were falling over. It's just beyond.
It's like a nightmare.
It's
It is
an absolute
legit a
nightmare. And again, her house should have been bought out. My house should have been bought out. That would have put like 4 lots away from that. And it's not going to be, there's no future to it. It's just absolutely disgusting.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderman McMiniman.
you both described horror stories, and thank you for describing what you're going through. As I recall, 7 years ago, and there's probably only 2 of us that remember this, 7 years ago, when this railroad relocation first started, there was to be a neighborhood advocate some kind of a dedicated person to listen to the community, to understand what the residents want, what they're going through, to advocate for the residents. And I'm wondering what happened to that, and where did Hanson drop the ball on that? And, you know, maybe we might want to consider asking our Inspector General to look at what Hanson's responsibilities is for this, because we depend on Hanson to communicate to us. And you're really the first that have given us specifics about what's going on.
That's why we talked about this.
So thank you very much.
And I can tell you that I've dealt with multiple people from Hanson, and the only person from Hanson that has been is Jimmy Austin.
Yeah.
Jimmy Austin has been phenomenal. If you text him or if you email him, within 12 hours, you have a phone call back. He has been the most honest and the most forthcoming about everything. But even the negotiator, how dare you refer to my baby as a brown baby, and you start talking about my breast? That has nothing to do with this. The lack of professionalism on his behalf, he told me I was difficult. He's like, you need to sign those papers because you're being difficult. I'm sorry. This is my livelihood. I have busted my tail to buy a home, and I put every penny of everything I earn into that. So I have a safe place for my family, and that has all been stripped away. Every single bit of it, and it is not fair, and nobody is hearing us.
Yeah, we both have been there 20 years. I'll be 20, I bought it August, the month before 9/11. And I put all my money in, I put everything I could in.
There has to be
So it's
something.
not like I just bought this last year and I'm bringing this up. This has been a lifelong home for me, and I didn't have any plans of anything changing. And when I saw the railroad plans, I don't remember how I found out on the internet. It was just like, oh, by the way, you know, they're tearing down houses. So I'm like, what
We
do
have
you mean?
never had anyone
Never.
that has, in fact, we have tried numerous times for years to get put on the email list that supposedly sends out emails to the people. We've tried physically to put our own email address in there. We can't get any sort of communication regarding the rail project. I don't get any mailings about it. I don't get any emails about it. It's like somehow someone, and I sound like a lunatic, I'm sure, but it's like someone behind the scenes is going, whoop, delete her name because she's going to stir the pot. I'm going to stir the pot because it's affecting my life, and my kids deserve better.
Yeah, like I said with the alley, they pushed over telephone poles that are crooked, the alleys are thing, they tore out corner fences, the alleys get trashed. I mean, just going to my house, it's like, hey, let me put this house for sale. Just driving to it would turn anybody off. Just because of all the stuff you have to go through. And then, the idea of how, no one can tell me how it's gonna look. You know, they're negative Hanson, like, they don't know where they're deal. I was talking to the project engineer that happened to be there because he hit my fence, and I contacted them, they were talking to me. I'm like, so where's all, like she mentioned the water runoff, where's all this gonna go? Well, I think there's gonna be this huge concrete drainage thing.
But we
right-
don't know for sure.
Yeah, right next to my house. I'm like, is there gonna be any landscaping or grass? No, I don't know anything about that. I'm like, what, I mean, that's.
They spent 3 days, the
No one's gonna
project
buy it.
manager spent 3 days last week trying to figure out where my sewer line ran in, if it came in the back or the front. They dug up the entire length of 3 homes, where 3 homes were, to try and find my sewer line. Called the city couldn't tell them because they weren't getting the right person. How are you doing all of this? They had a bag of concrete, and he literally said, we have a new manhole. I'm supposed to plug up the sewer line, but I don't want to do that just in case you actually have sewer running in the back alley. He goes, can you, oh, sorry. He asked if I could go in my house and flush my toilet 3 times to see if there was any movement in the sewer pipes. So it's become a job for me because I have to cater to their needs to find out if they're going to make a horrible mistake and screw up my sewer.
Alderwoman Turner and then Alderman Redpath.
Yeah, this is a very, very unfortunate situation and not one that any of us anticipated when this whole rail project started. But what we did anticipate was that individuals were going to have concerns with their property being bought out. And Alderman McMenamin is correct. At the beginning of this process, there was a community ombudsman that was identified and hired on. So I'm not sure why she has not been in contact with you, because
We've not
this
heard a word.
because this is exactly the kind of situation that she was supposed to mitigate and, kind of be the go-between between Hanson and the property owners.
I
So-
need photographs and documents and stuff. to
Oh, I
help
have
us.
them. I forwarded them
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I have a
So-
YouTube
My
channel.
home is
I go
very-
live every day on my
Yeah.
YouTube channel to try and just get the word out so people can see, like, this is how we are expected to live.
Yeah, so, so maybe in your conversations, Mayor, you can kind of interject that and ask why the community ombudsman has not been, trying to work with them to mitigate this, because that was supposed to be her job so that they wouldn't have to do all of this on their own. She would be the one that would be, their,
Yeah, we've been working together as best we can, with because she's 6th Street, I'm 5th Street.
And they're not the only ones.
Yes. No, there's a guy right across the street. I don't know him. I think they don't like him at all because they park.
The
huge-
Sherpinskis, Ruby
Yeah, they
Sherpinsky.
park their thing like
Dr. Ruby.
right next, like mine, right next to, there's no reason they need to do that. They park that dozer right next to.
Within
his-
feet.
Within feet of his parking spot.
And they have home damage
And,
too,
yeah,
but they
so
sold a
they
part of
have
their
to, they
property.
have to.
So they were told they can't pursue anything legally because they had signed a contract taking part of their neighbor's yard. But they got a tax bill for $4,000 some odd for property that all the contractors are using to park their machines on. So it's just not fair at all. And I would love to know who this person is you speak of because we've not heard a word.
Randy
Have
told
you?
me to drive by Ash Street and the Laurel or the Ash Street project and look at that. That's how it's gonna look. And I looked at that and I put where my house is, it's insanity. I mean, to have that type of infrastructure that close, that high, it's like she mentioned.
It's a 7-foot
Yeah, when-
raise
when they were
from
building
our,
that, I went out there talking, what's going on? Oh, we're gonna build this 7 feet high. I'm like, oh, so the train's gonna be as high as my house is basically then. And, like she mentioned derailments and stuff, it'll have a nice 5-second, take off top of my house or something because it's really high. And he talks about the lines being solid and there won't make the click, click, click sound. And he gives me this confirmation that it's going to be better in some way, but 4 trains, twice as much traffic, twice as fast, and everything that's going along with it, and the depreciation of the house and the neighborhood.
and the
value.
damage it's caused just building it.
The noise is like down here. on my
Correct.
concerns. I mean,
As I've said 3 times prior, it has decimated several neighborhoods,
yeah,
not just this one.
yeah.
Alderman Redpath?
Obviously, it's a terrible situation. We get it, but I think we got the gist of what you're talking about. No offense, but
We think
I really believe that I think the mayor's going to grab onto this as well as Nate Bottom. And I think hopefully we'll see some
And we
movement.
appreciate all the hard work on your end, but like I said, I felt like to get here and be able to convey from our perspective helps you better understand
It
like,
does.
the
It-
position we've been put
It
in.
does, and thank you for coming and telling us because
Otherwise,
obviously we haven't heard these kind of horror
Actually,
stories.
you have. I've talked about it 3 times now, so
No,
it's-
that's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about through the whole
Yeah.
project, so it got down to this point. I mean, we were doing commercial stuff more than anything else, but
when they put those 30-foot beams down into the ground for that, that's when everything went crazy.
Yes.
Because
well, ours from the first day, as soon as they knocked down that house next to us, was within 2 days, we started to notice our windows were cracked. We have holes in our siding from where the demolition was so close. I have videos of them with the front bucket loader swinging right at our dining room window. I was sitting there eating breakfast with my toddler, and here comes this bucket, and then we hear a knock on the door, and the man says, "Do you want us to tear down that fence? Is it yours? Is it theirs? Who knows?" And I'm like, "Can you just keep us safe, first of all? Like, this is ridiculous." So thank you again for
Thanks.
listening. We appreciate you guys.
appreciate it.
Nate, if you'd come up and give an update, we'd appreciate it. And I don't know if you can speak to the ombudsman position, the status of that. And again, just to be fair to Nate, he's caught in the middle of all this, so.
Yeah, Eve Blackwell Lewis is the ombudsman, so you can reach out
please
to her.
take the mask off, please. Thank you.
Eve Blackwell Lewis is the ombudsman, and I can I'll get you her contact information if you want to give it. Well, I have yours, Brandy. If I can get
Well, we
yours.
should ask her to contact the homeowners so they don't have to do that.
It sounds good. Yeah, I'll have her reach
There
out to you.
seems to be more that Alderman DeCenso has too that need to be contacted also, Nate.
Okay.
and
will
I've
do.
never heard that name.
What's that?
I've never heard that name.
What was it again?
Never.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, and then in regards to the funding, originally it was the hardship acquisition funds, but those are funds if we specifically needed the property for the right of way, for the rail project. However, it's not, those funds are not eligible. So I think those were the original funds that the Senate, Bill was alluding to. However, we are looking at other funds, and he did mention CDBG funds, but we'll have to evaluate that moving forward. And then Jimmy Austin is their contact person, their community contact person as well. So obviously, that's their direct contact. Okay, so I'll have her reach out to both you and Neil, if you give me your information afterwards.
Wasn't a vibration study done as part of the planning?
That's correct.
And,
Initially, there was an environmental impact statement study that was completed at first as part of the project, and then a subsequent noise and vibration study. And those areas were deemed to be have negligible impact. That's why some of those remained.
Yeah,
but we'll further evaluate that. Then, in regards to some of the claims, we'll have to obviously talk to the contractor if the contractor did any damage during the project as well. And then I will talk to the contractor as well as the resident engineer for Hanson, just to have them be cognizant, obviously, of the neighbors and try to keep their equipment as far away as possible and keep down the noise in the different areas.
The biggest thing for us is that's the only, because we live on 6th Street, that is the only place for our child to play, and she's special needs, and she's got a lot of energy. And so we have always been able to use that back alley, and just to be aware that there may very well be a child who don't come around the corner with their equipment and not be aware that there are children there.
And then also in regards to the sewer, we've assessed that we did clean it last week as well to make sure that it was clean and clear. And then we obviously have the overhead sewer program that we can talk further in the future about as well. Anything else you want me to cover?
No, we will follow up, get more detail, because there's some options we just need to follow. But if you could let Eve Blackwell Lewis know to get in contact with the homeowners. We'd like to talk to Hanson about the vibration study and, you know, where it's at now. I mean, I think they should do an update on the properties, reassess, and how accurate was the vibration study, because if it's gravely missed the mark, then that changed the, that's what we'll have to find out. And so we need to determine that, I would think.
Really quick.
Yeah, Alderman Proctor.
If you're adding things to talk to Hanson about, can you tell them to, you know, on their website, put the contact information for this ombudsman? Because I was scouring the website trying to look for the name, and I couldn't find the name.
Gonna need her.
Yeah, so it's like, well, if they're there, don't hide them, you know?
Yeah, we actually, Jimmy's been our contact. I've met with him there several times, get plans and diagrams, give me visualization, things, but, again, I mean, everything I mean.
Yeah, it's so that'd be helpful.
She's been the ombudsman during the land acquisition process, so, but we may have to modify that and talk about that with the steering committee too for the rail improvements project as well.
I think what's important is, as Alderman McMillan pointed out, as well as Alderwoman Turner, is the ombudsman is almost your go-between. You know, and that's Hanson has a self-interest in the project. Homeowners have a self-interest. And so the ombudsman's supposed to determine what's the neutral point that makes sense. And so it's a crucial part of this, and especially if conversations, how they are handled, are very significant. And that's something that the ombudsman should be having, those difficult conversations, and not someone that doesn't have the expertise to relay information to the homeowners. Any other discussion on that? I appreciate all your work, Nate. I know you, you have a lot on your hands. This is another one of those items. Let's see. Next person is Jane McBride.